Good
Good,
morning, everyone.
good morning. Good morning.
Welcome to the Daily Huddle on this beautiful Monday. I hope it's pretty where you are because it's pretty where we are today, right? I am Kimberly and this is Zack, and we're going to be your hosts this morning, right?
Absolutely. So before we get started, what do you call somebody that's happy on Mondays? Other than a Daily Huddle participant, right? Retired.
Oh. Ha ha Good morning, good morning, good morning. I hope you guys heard Zack's joke that said, what do you call someone that's happy on Mondays? And then his silliness said retired. Well, I want you to know I'm not retired and I'm still happy on Mondays. I read this post just to poke a little, or maybe not poke a little, but I read this morning and I thought it was great. And now that I know that's your joke, I'm going to say this too. It says, even the most positive people have negative thoughts. The secret is not to feed them. So let's remind ourselves of that. And if you are retired, I hope that you're super happy on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday and Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, right?
All days, right?
And if not, I hope you're super happy anyway, as we should be.
I think retirement is a state of mind. It's doing what you love, not what you have to.
Absolutely.
So,
well, we're going to talk today. The question for today is, will I have enough money to retire? But before we get to that, we have some questions for you guys.
we do. Andrea, what time is it and what are you grateful for today?
Well, the time is the same one. Let me check. No, it's the only one. Is the only one. And what am I grateful for? For being here. That's what I'm grateful. I'm back after some interesting weeks, and I'm grateful for seeing your faces.
We're grateful to see your face as well. So thank you for joining us this morning.
Absolutely.
Tara, it's good to see your face too.
Good morning.
Where are you and who will you hug today?
I am right here with the Oteys and the Daily Huddle family and nowhere else. And I'm headed to the airport, so I'm going to have to hug me a stranger.
Please video it. Please video it. I think sometimes we should just have like a video person to follow us around. So when these impromptu things come up and you hug the stranger, they can really get like the true reaction instead of having to go, okay, I'm going to hug a stranger. Watch this, you know.
Right.
Right.
I think it'd be super funny.
Great idea.
All right, one more.
All right. Harumi, how are you?
Hi, good morning, Kimberly, Zack. I'm good. It's happy Monday. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, we are exactly how we say we are. So every day you should be happy. And if you aren't, you should figure it out, right? Do some jumping jacks and change your mindset at that moment. So we had a pop-up great news. Cece is running for City Council District 3 in Conyers. So you guys vote on November 7th if you are in her area. So thanks for posting that on there and letting us know, and good luck to you, very much so. All right, so we're going to talk today, and Liz, if I can't share my screen, if you'll allow me to, I haven't tried yet, but we're going to talk today about, will I have enough money to retire? I think that's a big question for everyone, is will I have enough, and how do I know if I have enough? You want to talk? I know you said you did, and I told you not to, but now I'm going to tell you to. Talk just for a minute about like that three-legged stool.
So in traditional retirement planning, at least prior to this time that we're in now, there was what we called a three-legged stool of retirement. And so if we went to work every day and we did what we were supposed to do, then by the end of our working career, our work life, we were supposed to have three legs under our retirement stool. One of them was a private pension. Another one was Social Security. And then the final third one was personal savings. And really what we have now with the transition to the 401k, if you realize that, is that it's really your money, right? And it's really the one thing that most of us rely on for our retirement. So people think that everything's going well because they go to work and they do what they're supposed to do and they contribute to that 401k and get the match if their company matches it, but they don't really think about the math and the numbers and how that works because they're going to work every day, right? They're just putting one foot in front of the other. Well, the private pension is all but gone. There are very, very few companies, even the federal government, which used to have a fantastic private pension at 20-year retirement for a lot of federal employees, now has what's called a TSP, or a thrift savings plan, which is just a 401k. So there are a lot of things that people don't understand. If we just count on our employer or whatever taking care of us without actually seeing these pieces. So we really now, with Social Security, I know when we're talking to younger people with their retirements, we consider that to be a bonus if it's there when they get to that point, because we all have read about insolvency of Social Security and those kind of things. If you're on it right now, it's not going to run out this year, to my knowledge anyway, but counting on it long term might not be wise for somebody that's just getting started planning now. So what Kimberly's going to talk to you guys about is is how do you know your number? How do you know what that number is that you should be shooting for? That's the first step. And then after that is, how do I get there? But knowing that really our retirement is not on our employers anymore and them taking care of us for 30 years of service, it's really on us making sure that at the end of that 30-year time frame, or whatever it happens to be, we have enough to be happy on Mondays as a retiree. So, but with that being said, we'll turn it over to Kimberly.
Thank you. Thank you. So some of you guys have heard us talk about this before. Some of you haven't, but I want you to take a minute and I want you to have a pen and paper. And if you don't have a pen and paper, then when we hang up, watch this again and look at your own personal financial inventory to see if you have enough. What is enough? How is that going to happen? I'm going to just share my screen really quickly. Because I think it's important to just kind of go through this, just very elementary. So obviously it's always that time of year. You shouldn't do it every day, but you should do it at least once a year, if not once every 6 months. Just sit down and say, okay, where am I? What does my retirement plan look like? Where is this? And obviously you can use a financial professional for this. And we do this with our clients typically every 6 months to a year, but you can also do it on your own. I don't think it's necessarily something you have to sit down with someone with just to know your numbers, but I want you as collectively, all of you, to know intimately your numbers and where you are and where you need to be, because that's the part that you're working on, right? So to create your own personal financial inventory, it's really, really simple. And I don't want to overcomplicate it. I want you to list your assets. What do you have, right? You can list, if you've got properties, list your properties. If you've got 401ks, list your 401ks. If you've got checking, savings, those kind of things, list all of that money. If you've got money market accounts, if you've got potential inheritance coming in, whatever that looks like, list your assets. You don't have to go into how they're invested or how they're returning at this moment. You just want to know what do you have, right? And then I want you to list your debts. When you list your debts, literally put down not your monthly expenses, right? So I don't need to know, you don't need to know, in this example, your power bill and your cell phone bill and things like that. You need to know your credit card bills, right? Like how much do you owe? How much do you pay? Student loans, mortgages, car loans, installment loans, furniture loans, whatever we can borrow money for. If you have that money out there owed to someone else, list that as your debt. So you can have just a very elementary vision of your assets and your debts. Another thing that I would really like for you to do at this time of year, or when you're sitting down looking at your own personal financial inventory, is to review your credit report. We use Credit Karma all the time. Credit Karma is free. We tell our kids to use Credit Karma, and we watch that not to become obsessed with it, but to understand how credit works, right? And so in this moment, reviewing your credit report on Credit Karma, you don't actually have to pull your credit report, but it shows you what is reporting. And by doing that, you can see if there's anything that isn't there that shouldn't be there, if you've got any collections or anything like that that's reporting against you. So just look at that, every few months, and make sure that you have a really good inventory of where you are and everything is reporting correctly. And then lastly, while you're doing your own personal financial inventory, review your recurring monthly expenses. So pull maybe 2 or 3 months of credit card statements, pull 2 or 3 months of your bank statements, and go through those statements and just look at them and say, okay, I'm paying Apple. It's funny because every time I do this, I feel like I'm paying Apple like 10 times a month. Like I have a $10 to Apple and a $9 to Apple and a $16 to Apple. And so sometimes I'll write it all down. I'm like, okay, Zach, we have to figure out why we're paying Apple $100 a month. Like, what is this? Not because it matters, but is it necessary, right? Is it just something that we're just wasting money on? And so we go through the Apple account. We're like, what is this? We try to figure it out. So all of those things, you can't do it every month, but do it once a year, do it once every 6 months, and just make sure that the money that you do have coming in is going where you want it to go. And if it isn't, or you're paying for subscriptions that you forgot to turn off or something like that, you want to watch the football game, right? 6-8 months later, you have a subscription. So just look at that and review that and really know where you are with your personal financial inventory. And then this is where you're going to set those financial goals. So obviously, again, you do need to have some sort of financial professional in your life helping you understand where you are. But even without that, you can look at this and start on this yourself. So the first thing to do is establish a budget. And if you guys don't have a budget, there are a couple of great apps out there that we recommend. You can use either Mint, or you can use YNAB, which stands for You Need a Budget. And those are great regardless of if you really want to change your spending. It's just good to see where your money's going, right? If half of your money every month is going to eating out, maybe you should make a menu, right? Or a meal plan. And you should just kind of look at that, but establish a budget, I don't want you to be restrictive in your life and in your finances, but I do want you to know where it's going. I do want you to have a clear understanding of what that looks like. Step number 2 is to create an emergency fund. You should have 3 to 6 months at minimum of liquid money. It doesn't mean sitting in a bank account, but it means liquid, right? Whether it's in a money market account, a managed money account, a bank account, whatever, but it should be liquid. So if there is an emergency, instead of it going to your credit cards, you can pull from your emergency fund, because that's what that's for. Even if you can just put $50 a month into it, $25 a month, $1,000 a month, it doesn't matter to me. This is for you, but you need to get used to that systematic savings of something going into a separate account every single month that you don't touch. A lot of times, I tell people to put it at a different bank than where your regular account is, because it makes it a little harder to access that money. I don't know what you're doing. Do you know what you're doing? Yes, I can put the links for the budget app. But a lot of times it makes it a little bit harder to get to access that money. So put it somewhere different. If you bank at Truist, put it at Capital One, right? It's going to take a few days for that money to transfer or whatever. But also look at reducing your credit debt. Look at anything over 7%. And we're going to talk about some rules here in a minute, but anything over 7%, you might look at changing that, or let's say anything over the rate of inflation. Because right now, even your mortgages are probably 7%. So anything over the rate of inflation, you should look at reducing your credit debt. So you have more of your money, instead of paying off debt, more of your money can go towards investments.
Example, to clarify this on that, let's say that you've got a car loan and it's a 2.99%. I think you can still do that on cars at this point. If you have a car loan that's at 3%, and you don't have a substantial emergency fund, or you're not set up in an emergency fund, but you're trying to rapidly pay off that car, that might be something you want to change your thought process on. Same for the mortgage. If you got your mortgage before the last 12 months, I wouldn't be trying to pay that mortgage off if I don't have an established emergency fund or a funded retirement account. So that's one of the big tweaks that we find for a lot of folks is they're taking part of their saving investable money and they're putting it down on these lower interest rate liabilities. And in most cases, the mortgage is technically you're already in the black because it's worth more than you owe on the home, which means that you could sell it if you needed to. So just thought processes about that. When we say reduce credit debt, we're talking about unsecured high interest credit debt that the money it's just eating a hole in your future every time you carry that balance forward. It also will help that credit score piece that we talked about before. So there are certain things that that need to be taken into account. So what are we saying? Number 4, review your life insurance. Obviously, we want our plans, and we're doing this to be self-completing. So the one thing that we can do right now is make sure that if I'm gone, that my family doesn't have to deal with financial hardship as well as emotional trauma and all those kind of things. We're dealing with people in our personal circles at this point that are, could be in a bad spot with the loss of a breadwinner in the family. So it's one of the things you run into when you're in this business a lot. But anyway, long story short, make sure that you do that. Make sure that you take care of that piece, because that is, taken care of today, not just working for it down the road. So,
and I think these are this is your foundation, right? This is your foundation for any solid financial plan. We talked about this when we were in person on Saturday at the Daily Huddle event. It's fun to build that house, right? It's fun to put the walls in and the roof on and to really decorate it inside and make it look like we want to look, which is really what our investments are, right? Is how big can I grow them and what can I invest in and how does it return this money? But before we do all of that, we need to have our foundation in place. So this will help you put your foundation in place. So make sure that you are set from that point of view. So here we're going to talk about actual retirement nest egg need. So we talked about this again that Saturday, but it's the rule of 25. So take the income need and multiply it by 25. So what do I mean by that? I would say, and we can just use these for rough numbers. I'm going to stop this share and then I'm going to pull up a calculator just so you can kind of see me walk through this and you understand what I'm talking about. So in this example, let's say that someone needs $100,000 a year to retire. So they need $100,000 a year to retire, coming in annually, right? They need it to come from all different sources. And let's say that they have $25,000 coming in from Social Security, and we're going to use that, right, as income for them. And let's say that, like Zack talked about, you don't have a pension. You don't have a pension anymore. That's not an option. Everything else is on you. And what have you saved? So in order to know what your number needs to be for retirement to pull $75,000 a year for your income, you simply take that $75,000 and you multiply it by 25. So taking the amount that you need and multiplying it by 25 shows that you need $1.8 million in an account if you just want to live off of that money for the next 30-year period. And this is based on, I think it was a study of maybe 100 people that lived over that 30-year period. I think 97 of them, their money lasted that long. So this is called the rule of 25. So again, take whatever number you need coming in annually, subtract whatever guaranteed income you have coming in, and we'll pretend that Social Security is guaranteed, right, for this example. And if you have a pension, subtract your pension. So you're just looking for that difference, and then multiply that by 25, and that's going to give you the number that you need at retirement. So now we are going to go back to our beautiful little slide, and we're going to say, review your 401k and investment contributions and determine how close you are to your nest egg. So in that example, someone's going to need $1.8 million. It is perfect to sit down and go, okay, I am 45 years old and I have $500,000 in my investment account, and I am saving, 5%, and I matched 5%, and I'm going to assume over the next 20 years until I retire, that it's going to grow at 7%, right? Let's be realistic. Let's not be crazy. But there are calculators out there. I know I'm throwing a lot of numbers out there, but there are calculators out there that will tell you what that grows to. I'm actually going to stick that in the chat as well. Financial calculators. There's a website called Dinky Town. That sounds funny. But
I think it's just stinkytown.com, but
anyway, y'all can
there's a lot of
Google it, but-
good calculators in there that you can look at the impact of taxes, all those kind of things.
But you still have, in that example, you still have 20 years, right, for your money to grow before you retire at 65. So it doesn't, even if you aren't there now, it doesn't mean that you won't be there later. So look at that and determine how close you are to your nest egg. And then finally, meet with your investment advisor, discuss any changes that need to be made. But I would suggest that most of us are going to need some sort of alternative income streams. I would suggest that most of us aren't going to be able to save enough money to truly retire with the amount that we need or want coming in. So what are your options? What are your choices? And I think that's just what this next slide says, is work on building alternative income streams. So you see all of these people all of the time, maybe not all of these people, but it's definitely more common now with people having side hustles, and you see it all over the internet, on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or whatever, because people are building an income stream. They might not be able to save their way to $1.8 million for retirement, but they can build something that will pay them. That's why real estate is so popular. That's why Airbnb is so popular. Airbnb is popular because I really enjoy staying in a house with my family instead of staying in a hotel. Like, it feels better, and there's a lot of us. But it's also so popular because those people are making significant money off of their investment, more than they would typically if they just rented it on a long-term rental. So whatever that looks like for you, I'm going to share just really quickly a screen about our industry and our business opportunity, because I think it matters. I think it's important to understand, when you're looking for alternative income, where could it come from and what does that look like? So I just put in here just a basic contract level at 60. And this just shows meeting with one family a week. So if you see where it says life sales 4, this just shows meeting with one family a week, taking care of their personal financial plan, making sure that they're taken care of. And if we only did their life insurance portion, which obviously we're going to do everything, that's a potential income of over $100,000 a year. For most people, it is so much more realistic to find one family a week that needs our services and needs what we do than it is to save $1.8 million. So that's what I want you guys to think about, whether you think about HGI and our business opportunity, whether you think about real estate, whether you start a lawn business, whether you have an Etsy shop. It doesn't matter to me, but I don't believe that most people are going to be able to save their way to retirement. And I don't think that we quite have hit that mark yet, because I think the baby boomers, they're probably right there, right? I guess maybe they're retiring, and maybe they had pensions, but the group right after the ones that have just retired, where we're going to really have to start paying for ourselves, I think it's going to be a big issue that we don't realize, because it's much easier to stick our head in the sand and ignore it and say, well, one day I'm going to retire. And truthfully, I think most people won't have that opportunity unless they look for alternative income streams that will pay them when they're not necessarily working, because I don't think they're going to be able to save enough money to retirement. So I'm gonna let you speak too, but I say all this to say, I don't want to depress you. I want to inspire you, right? I want you to open your mind and think about increasing your income, and think about ways and places to make more money, because there's plenty of money to be made out in the world. Okay.
Yeah, we're definitely in an era of an entrepreneur. I mean, a lot of people are thinking that way, and they're second income streams and those kind of things are very common. I know, especially in our kids' generation, they're thinking about all these different ways they're going to make money, and very few of them are talking about who they're going to work for. So maybe that's just our kids, maybe that's a problem we've created, but we'll see. Any questions? Anybody have comments, questions about what we talked about? And then we'll go from there.
No conversation. All right. Well, good. Perfect. Awesome. Well, I do think it's important, like I said, to go ahead, Gio.
Yeah,
CC. I thank you so much for the wisdom and the information that you're providing to us. Actually, I'm looking at other streams of income to support being in retirement since I'm retired. And I'm thankful that you guys have given us this information and speaking it over and over again so that we get it and we take actions on it. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Cece. Gio?
yes, thank you, CC. Yeah, this was really great. You guys covered a lot of critical foundations for my life and for those of us who are listening. What I was discovering in the conversation is how difficult it is that accidentally I get a passive income. You know, like accidentally, like it's going to show up someday. I'm going to have $100,000 coming in when I'm 70 or something, or 65. There's just going to show up because I worked my entire life.
Right.
And it's a real rude awakening. And I think that really paying attention to this conversation makes a difference. So what the hell am I going to do to create a passive income of $80,000, $60,000 by the time I'm 65? You know, I gotta look at it that way, given that it's not going to come anywhere. So thank you for sharing it that so generously, and the business opportunity that you guys have is really real. One family a month, one family a week. It's not too bad. You know, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. So I know from firsthand experience that it takes something to build that momentum. But thank you for opening that up and offering that possibility. I was more thinking in that relationship rather than a question.
Yeah, and I think most of the time when we meet with financial advisors, we just look at our lump sum. How much do we have and how much can we grow it, right? Which is fine, but I think personally it has to be more than that, because if it isn't, I don't think we'll ever be able to grow it enough. We've met with a lot of people in the last 20 years, and I think it's probably safe to say that like maybe one hand, maybe two, let's just pretend, that might have ever had $2 million sitting in an account somewhere that they could actually pull from. And if they do have $2 million sitting somewhere, they don't want to live off 100,000, right? Because their level of income and their level of lifestyle is closer to that couple $1 million a year. So how do you sustain it? And we could say that for 100,000 a year. So I think our savings is significantly less than it should be to really truly retire and live comfortably. And nobody wants to work for 30 years and
continue to work for another 30.
Right.
Yeah. not be able to buy that dream of vacation and retirement, right?
So I think you're pointing to something, if I may. Can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
So I think you're pointing to something really, really important for me, right, to take a look at. It's not only the wealth I built that is important to seriously look at, but what is the lifestyle that I am not aware of that I'm going to have to deal with later, right? And it's also another really important awakening moment. So if my lifestyle is 3 vacations a year, right, with car notes of $1,500, with a house of $4,000, $3,000, with steak every week, you know, and appetizers, and then movies twice a month. That's that in itself, what I just said, is a really big lifestyle. So my savings are going to go fast with that kind of lifestyle. So then I have to prepare myself emotionally to cool off, to calm down, you know, to cook at home. And that's an emotional commitment also,
It
to
is.
not get appetizers, to go out once every 2 weeks, to have one vacation a year. Anyway, I'm seeing all of that. That's also critical to look at.
Yeah, it is. And I think that that's what most people do, is they shrink their dreams. I think my point is, you don't have to.
Don't shrink your dreams.
You don't have to, but you do have to think creatively, and you do have to create alternative income streams, because your savings will not allow you to live the lifestyle you want to live for the majority of people.
Yeah, don't shrink your dreams, go to work. I
Yeah.
love that. Don't shrink your dreams, go to work.
Yeah.
I like to change people's thought process from I can't afford that to how can I afford that?
Yeah,
You know, maybe I can't right now, but the question is, it's a statement. It's not I can't, it's how can I becomes a question. Opens up possibilities. Just what you'd say to your subconscious mind changes a lot of your results. So, well,
changes
guys,
everything.
thank you so much. Gio, thank you for your contribution as always. And hope you
Thank
guys
you.
got some value. Share this. This will be obviously available as well on the recorded version. But if it's something you have further questions about, we'd love to address those. But as we go today, let's go out into our day, remembering that we have 8 things to focus on: love, laugh out loud, stress less. Wow, we just brought your stress level way up, and now we're going to tell you to stress less.
No, we didn't.
Eat mostly plant-based. Take care of your body. Give. Sleep. Move. And finally, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Guys, again, have a blessed day, and we will see you same time, same place tomorrow on the Daily Huddle.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
What were the
Thank you,
budget apps again? Mint and what?
YNAB. You need a budget. YNAB.com, I believe is what it is.
It's MYNT.